Hi guys, it's Pam from Milner Gardens Woodland with another virtual field trip, and today we're going to my kitchen. It's raining outside, so I thought maybe we could do an indoor activity to learn about and connect with plants. And when you want to learn about plants indoors, your kitchen is one of the best places to go. Today we're going to think a little bit about something called pH. And this is important if you're a gardener, because your soil, depending on what the pH of your soil is, it can really affect your plants. Now what the pH means is kind of like how your soil tastes to a plant. Don't taste soil, that's not what I'm saying. But pH in chemistry means whether or not something is an acid or a base. In your kitchen, examples of acids are things like vinegar and juices, and examples of things that are bases in your kitchen are like baking soda and soap. What the pH of the soil is can affect the chemistry of the plants. If you've ever seen a hydrangea, we have lots of those on the grounds at Milner Gardens, and I'm going to pop up a picture of one right now. That's what they look like. The pH of the soil can affect the color of the hydrangea. When the pH is low, a hydrangea can be pink, but when it's higher, it can be purple or even blue. But hydrangeas probably aren't in your kitchen. And what might be in your kitchen is another plant that is very affected by pH, and that is cabbage. We're going to do some science with cabbage. Things are going to change color and it might get messy. So if you are going to do this yourself at home, the first thing I want to say is it's going to be really important to ask your parents for permission first. It's going to be important to protect your work area. And the other thing you're going to want to do is make sure you're not wearing your favorite shirt and get ready to do some messy activities. So I'm going to come back in a minute with a little bit of a different outfit on, okay? Okay. So I've changed my shirt and tied my hair back to make things a little bit less messy. And now I can show you what you're gonna need if you do this experiment home. You're gonna need a blender, or you're gonna have to do a lot of chopping. You're gonna need red cabbage, a cutting board, a knife. You're gonna need some kind of strainer and a bowl. And a measuring cup's a good idea, but it's not super important. Later on, you're also going to need some vinegar, some baking soda, some salt, some dish soap, and some little clear jars or something to put all of that in. So the first step you need for this experiment is to chop up the cabbage into tiny little pieces. So I'm going to start that. I'm going to chop up 2 cups of cabbage, and then I'm going to show you what happens next. So there you go. I've got about 2 cups of chopped up cabbage. And as you can see, there's already a little bit of purple stuff on my knife. That's something called anthocyanin, and it's what gives the cabbage its color. It's also the thing that's going to be affected by the pH of things that we test later on. You also have anthocyanins in apples and plums and lots of other plants that have like reddish colors, grapes too. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is put your cabbage in a blender, and then you want to get some hot water and pour it over the cabbage. I didn't chop the cabbage up super small because I'm going to blend it next. Are you ready? I'm going to put on the lid, and there you go. And there's my blended cabbage. As you can see, it's purple, it's kind of foamy, it looks pretty cool. I'm going to take my bowl and my strainer, and I'm going to pour the cabbage in there. This is the part where you want to be careful because the purple out of this cabbage definitely stains. Now, I'm not a big fan of food waste, so I'm going to keep all of the cabbage here, and I'm going to put it in soup or something like that. So you don't want that to be wasted. But look what I have here. I have this awesome bowl of purple stuff. I'm gonna let this cool for a little bit and come back and show you the next step in a minute. Okay, so I've put my purple cabbage water in the fridge, and while it's cooling, I'm gonna mix up some different liquids that I'm gonna use to test pH with once the cabbage water is cool. Over here, I've used little tiny mason jars. This one has plain water. This one has vinegar. This one has water with salt mixed into it. This one is baking soda and water. And this one over here is water with some dish soap. So you can prepare those. You're definitely going to want to test vinegar, and you're definitely going to want to test baking soda, and you're definitely going to want to test plain water. But you can try whatever different liquids in your kitchen you want. Just make sure that it's a safe liquid. I wouldn't test any of the cleaning products or anything like that you have in your kitchen, because we want to keep this safe science. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead and I'm going to show you what happens when I add purple cabbage juice to each of these jars. Okay, my cabbage juice is cooled, so let's see what color we have when we add it to plain water. What do you predict is going to happen to this water? I predict it will probably stay purple, because this is mostly water. Let's find out. Oh, sure enough, there we go. Purple cabbage juice stays purple in plain water. Next, vinegar. This is pure vinegar. I haven't added water to this, and we're going to add some purple cabbage juice to vinegar. I'm going to give you a minute to guess what color, you think this is going to turn. Got it? Let's find out if you're right. Ho-ho! Pink. Vinegar and cabbage juice turns pink. The next one we have is the salt. What do you think is going to happen here? Purple, pink, a different color? I'm going to give it a good swirl just to make sure the salt's nice and mixed in there. And let's find out what happens. That one is still pretty purple. How about baking soda? Let's find out. What do you think is going to happen? Oh, it turned blue. Look at that. There's a real blue color going on here. And if I mix that in to get even more of the baking soda mixed in, it's going even bluer, kind of a turquoise color, huh? And finally, what about the dish soap? There's just a few drops of dish soap in here. It's not very soapy because I didn't want to make it all foamy, but let's find out what color it goes. Ooh, it's purple, but it's maybe a little bit bluer than some of the other ones. Now, I've put these on my windowsill, so let's have a look at all of the different colors together, okay? There we've got plain water, vinegar, that one is salt water, that one's baking soda water, and that one there is dish soap. Now, I think the biggest change from the plain water, which remember was this color, was probably between the vinegar, which turned pink, and the baking soda, which turned blue. Now, the vinegar has a really low pH, the baking soda has a really high pH, and water is what we call neutral because it's exactly in the middle. Just for a fun experiment, what do you think is going to happen if we take this pink vinegar and water solution with cabbage juice in it and this blue baking soda solution with cabbage juice in it? I'm going to give you a minute to predict that while I just turn my camera down a little bit so you can see what's going on in front of me here. Okay, so here we have a jar. We've got the vinegar, we've got the baking soda, and we're gonna just mix those together. Are you ready? Predict in your head what's gonna happen. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Science is fun. So your challenge for this week is to try this out at home. Make sure you have your parents' permission or help first. Make sure you wear some old clothes because this stuff does stain. And if you want to do even more kitchen science, you can go back to the very first virtual field trip if you haven't done that, and that's a virtual seed hunt in your kitchen. So I hope everybody has a really good week and connects with nature from wherever they are, and we'll see you in the next virtual field trip. Wonder what happens if I add soap to this.